Fly like an eagle.
Hold on. Sit back down. Sit back.
This
Is the beginning. All right, sit down. Is it all recording?
Yeah. I believe I can fly.
And then it just starts.
Let's do that. And keep all that in. Even this.
Hey, welcome to another episode of MMA and Coffee. I'm Matthew.
Zach.
And we're going to talk about UFC 185.
And how great our predictions were. Alright. Well, I guess we can just address the fact that the flyweight fight we skipped over, we were actually kind of right on. We didn't really. Judo won, and it was a grinding decision.
Yep.
That was it.
We also said if it was worth talking about, we would.
And it's not.
So we're not.
We're not. That's it.
We're done. All
He
right.
won. Good luck to him in his next fight. So.
All right. So next fight, Overeem and Big Country.
Yeah. Like I said, heart was pulling for Big Country. Head said Overeem, and the head unfortunately was right.
Yeah, I felt it was pretty much spot on what we said. You know, if Big Country was going to win, it was going to be because he knocked him out, and if Overeem won, it was because he fought smart.
I will say that we were saying it would be boring if Overeem won. He could make it boring one, and it wasn't like a barn burner of a fight, but I didn't think it was boring. You know, I thought he actually fought. He was pretty active.
He mixed it up. And
he did run a few times. It looked kind of bad, but
I mean, I would too.
Yeah, I mean, he knows it's the only way he can lose is if he catches him with that right hand. So
he just fought smart, and that's what, to be honest, that's what he kind of needed to do because of several losses. He needs to get on a winning streak.
The chatter is Junior Dos Santos finally fighting Overeem. I like that fight. Both just won.
Yeah, and to be honest, after the Kane fight, you know, you wonder how much of the second and the third one, how much that took out of Santos.
How much he's got left in the tank after those two ass beatings.
Yeah, that I mean, your body can only take so many.
Yeah.
You only have so many fights left in you.
Overeem probably has a better shot of beating him now than he ever did, especially the way he looked in that last outing. He didn't look that great. I mean, he still won, but he didn't look like the killer that he was.
No.
Maybe it was Stipe's just that good. He couldn't do that, but he still just seemed off.
I think it was a combination of both. You had
ring rust too.
You had Stipe who is good, and then the fact that Santos was coming off just getting his butt kicked.
Yeah.
And so you kind of wonder, like,
and a long layoff. It
was a long layoff. So. He wasn't as fast as we're used to seeing him. I mean, it was a good fight. It was a close fight, but compared to what I'm used to seeing from Santos, you kind of have to wonder. It's like he didn't look as good.
He didn't.
He just didn't.
And I think it's a good time to make the fight. I really do.
Yeah, I'm used to Santos just coming and knocking people out. So the fact that fight was like close on the feet was not what I was expecting when I watched that. So I agree.
Yeah, it should. And if Overeem wins, he's in the title picture finally. Mm-hmm. You know, and if he doesn't, then that's kind of what you expect. Honestly, like I expect Junior still to win that fight.
I do too, but I think
it'll be maybe more competitive.
I think if Overeem won, it would be similar to this one.
Yeah, that's what he would have to do. He couldn't brawl with him. He'd get knocked out.
He would just have to fight smart again, and I think as long as he does
he has the potential
to at least win a couple.
The only thing is that's the one big criticism from that fight that I give Overeem is him backing up on the cage and stopping. If he does that to Junior, he might be done.
I agree. Like a couple times he stopped and just he was just blocking instead of just getting the hell out of the way.
Yeah. I think that's about it for that fight. I mean, really.
I'm trying to think of anything else with it. I think too, he knew that Big Country's hard to finish.
Yeah, I don't know if he was really trying.
He didn't want to just sit here and because there's a couple. I mean, really, you think of the Travis Brown fight. He tried to finish, and then he got tired, and then he lost. So at least he's learning.
And Big Country's hard to finish in Travis Brown. I think. Not saying Travis Brown has a weak chin,
Isn't
but
or
Big
isn't
Country
Travis-
has a crazy chin.
He's just
That's
known
what
for
I'm
being
saying,
durable.
yeah.
I mean, that's other than his knockout power, that's one thing he's just
Yeah,
notorious for.
He's tough and he's knockout power. I mean, that's it.
Yeah. So what I would say is, he's at least he's learning from previous fights, whereas, you know, I think his cardio was better, but he paced himself.
Yeah.
Right. So the next fight, we were.
This was our one. This was our best prediction.
I think
it
so
was
too.
exactly pretty much how it went.
Mm-hmm.
This was the one that if you actually listened to us and bet on it when you didn't.
Because we
anyway,
came out with the video the day of the fights.
But yeah, it would have been the one that we actually would have made people some money on, or maybe ourselves if we had actually bet.
Well, I mean, if you just watched both of them fight, you could come to that conclusion that we made, which was 3 rounds. Hendricks, that's his bread and butter. Matt Brown doesn't really get finished, at least not recently. In the beginning, he was getting submitted, but he's shown that he's worked on his ground game in the sense that he doesn't get finished there. He's tough. It was just how I thought it was going to happen. And then Hendricks was kind of being tough on himself because I guess he just wanted to come in and make a statement and finish him. But, I mean,
that's what I was going to say. Is
Robbie didn't finish him.
It was actually a more dominant decision by Hendricks than I thought it would be. He didn't fade in the third round at all. Like, I figured he might start fading some in the third. And he kept the pressure up the whole time. He never let up. He won every round pretty convincingly.
I agree.
Might have not been exciting, but I mean, I don't know. I've seen worse fights. It wasn't that bad, you know. He wasn't just stalling. Like he was doing. He was active. He was busy.
Also, though, that's if he didn't do that, the fight would have been closer.
Yeah.
And he would have allowed Matt Brown to potentially win. So he did what he had to do to win.
He fought a smart fight. And he won.
Mm-hmm.
Dominant. 30-27. I think it was unanimous every round.
Yeah.
So.
I think afterwards he was just a little upset because he didn't just knock him out.
Yeah, and it was kind of weird because then Dana White, I remember saying, he's like, oh, I'm not that impressed either. And I'm just like, did you think he was going to just knock Matt Brown out? Like, I didn't really get that assessment.
That I didn't either, unless... kind of like me, I'm kind of not really aimed on seeing a trilogy.
Yeah.
He needs at least 2 fights, I think.
At least one more. He needs to beat someone else. The whole thing got messed up because it was clearly setting up from the winner of that fight to fight Hector Lombard. And then Lombard got popped.
That's true.
So now I'm not entirely sure who he's going to fight.
Well, I would say if Rory wins... then I could see Hendricks fighting for the title a lot sooner.
Yeah.
But if Robbie wins, I think he needs another win.
I agree. 100%.
Yeah.
Man. Just I don't want to see the third fight that soon.
Well, if they had the fight that soon, it's going to be another close fight.
Right. Neither one of them have changed enough for it to seem like it'd be any different, inconclusive.
Yeah, it's kind of like Kane and Santos. They had the
third
fight was too soon. Santos only fought Mark Hunt, and Mark Hunt was not going to prepare him for the wrestling of Kane. So it was the same fight.
Yeah,
the same thing. Like
it was an exciting match for him to make, but it didn't really do anything for Junior.
No, because now it's like when. Chances of him fighting for the title are a lot further away than if they'd waited.
Yeah.
Okay, so next fight. I was definitely wrong on this one.
Yeah, Carla and
Joanna Poland.
Poland there, yeah. JJ.
JJ.
She's being called now. She whipped her ass good. She whipped Carla's ass. It wasn't even competitive at all for a second.
Part of me was like,
man.
This was not the same Carla that I just watched beat Rose.
She was afraid to stand with her. She wouldn't stand with her, period.
The fact that the first thing she did was try for a takedown really far away. It was telegraphed. And Joanna didn't have to worry about getting hit because she knew that Carla just wanted to take her down. So when she knew that all she had to do was worry about stuff in the takedowns, it actually made the fight easier for her.
What was funny is that after the fight, and then you see her with the belt, Joanna had a black eye, and I don't even know when she got punched. Like, I don't know when Carla hit her at all. I can't even remember a single. It might have just been a jab or something. I don't know. She never caught her with anything
She
good.
probably ran into it because she was so
maybe.
aggressive.
Yeah, that's a possibility.
Because the whole fight, Carla was either going for a takedown or running back and getting punched. And
Joanna has improved since her last fight.
she did. It was
because
obvious.
I thought she was going to get taken down and just controlled, and Carla couldn't do anything.
No. And Carla was she was so worried about getting hit that when she wouldn't even commit on her punches. She would go to throw the punch, and she was already pulling back because she was expecting to get hit.
Yeah, she was.
And so at that point, it was like, oh, this is over. It was just mentally, she had lost the fight at that point.
I thought that ref was like pro move though. Like he stopped the fight as she collapsed and caught her. That was a slick move by that ref.
That was a good stoppage. And the funny thing is in the prediction, I said that they were too small.
Yeah.
Just the fight to end in strikes.
And it was in the second round too. It wasn't even like an exhaustion
I
finish.
say that because I was basing it off of Carla fighting Penne.
Right.
And they just brawled.
Yeah, no one went down or even really got rocked.
No, whereas in this fight, obviously her punching power was hurting Carla way more than Penne's because she didn't even want to exchange with her at all.
At the lower weight classes, for I guess men or women, knockout power just gets more and more rare, but there is the occasional fighter that has it. Think of like
Dotson
at flyweight, and was it McDonald at bantamweight has pretty good knockout power too for that weight. You don't usually see it. Say it maybe 135 and below. It seems like it gets more rare. Featherweight, a lot of them still seem to have it, but
some of that's
you do get the occasional fighter
technique and speed, and we also got to take in consideration that she's a striker. That's her.
Yeah.
That's her.
Yeah, it's like we said she was like an 18-time Muay Thai champ or something ridiculous. Like I said, whatever promotion it was in, but I mean, she obviously can fight standing up, and she proves she also has takedown defense. A lot of people call for a rematch with not her, with Claudia.
Claudia.
And I agree with that. If she wins,
it was close.
If she wins, she's fighting in Poland actually.
Claudia, if she wins her fight, then that would be the fight to make.
And you know Joanna's going to be there because A, she lives in Poland anyway.
True.
And B, she's watching the fight for her next contender. So I think Claudia wins. It's time to make the rematch on how close that first fight was.
And if we're looking even further into it, if Rose can win her next fight, I'd actually like to see her and Joanna strike.
Yeah, maybe. I'd probably give her, the division's kind of shallow, but maybe 2 fights before she gets another title shot.
Yeah.
I mean, okay.
Moral story, way off.
Yeah.
Completely underestimated.
And that's
Joanna.
the theme for the rest of this talk.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, I'd only seen one fight of Joanna.
Yeah, and she wasn't all that impressive.
And the fights I've seen of Carla, she just dominated.
Right.
So.
Right.
Lesson learned. All right.
Title fight, the big fight.
Pettis.
The wrongest fight that won on our predictions.
It was kind of like watching the Guida fight again.
Yeah, except he actually did stuff. He
wasn't just
RDA.
Yeah, he wasn't just holding on to him. He beat him in the feet. He outstruck him. Yeah,
he did. He took it to him. He pressured Pettis and never really it kind of reminded me of the way Sonnen approached fighting Anderson, except as far as he pressuring him, standing in his face and never letting him get the time in, except he actually stood with him too. He didn't just take him down and wrestle with him the whole time. Like he beat Pettis standing, and no one thought anyone could do that at lightweight.
That's true. I think
it was impressive.
Well, there's a couple technical things that I noticed about the fight that I'd like to bring up.
Okay.
Pettis mentioned the eye.
Yeah, he got hit in the eye really early, and apparently he did. He had a broken orbital.
Well, the point I want to mention on that though is RDA was in southpaw. Pettis was in orthodox, and Pettis was circling towards RDA's power hand, which was the left, and he actually walked it into that punch when he got hit in his right eye. The curious thing is,
it was like in the first 30 seconds of
the
fight,
first round.
wasn't it?
First round, right at the beginning, he
Yeah.
got hit hard. And the thing that's interesting to me is if you watch when Pettis fought Lozon, Cowboy, and Benson the second time, he was in southpaw stance and he kicked him with his left leg. His left leg he did the liver kick, the head kick. This was all with his left leg. In the fight, he never threw any kicks with his left leg. He was throwing right kicks.
Yeah, I remember you pointing that out in the fight, and then I noticed it after you did, and it was kind of weird. I don't know why
he was in that stance. He stayed against the cage, and
maybe he felt like he was trying to protect his eye or something.
It's right at the beginning though. He was in that stance. And I'm trying to think if he switches stances. I want to say he does switch stances a bunch.
He does.
But that whole fight, he was in orthodox, and he was circling towards RDA's kicks, his punches. He was circling into all the danger.
It was a weird fight from Pettis. I don't know if the pressure threw him off that much, if the eye injury that early must have gotten his head. It had to have gotten his head. He brought it up in the post-fight, like immediately after. So it must have been in his head the whole fight. Must have been screwing with him mentally.
You could tell mentally he was frustrated in that fight because he couldn't do what he normally does. Also, taking consideration the fact that we never really seen him get hit.
Yeah, he got hit more in that fight probably than all his other fights.
Yeah,
combined.
so I've never even. This is the first time I actually seen him bleed or get punched, to be honest. So that's something that he probably wasn't used to, and so that's not where he was comfortable.
Yeah,
he got taken out of his comfort zone. Also, and I don't know how much this plays into it, but to me, I know it had to do something. And I'm not making excuses like why he lost. RDA kicked his butt every round. Outstruck him.
50-45.
Outstruck him. But the fact he just whooped him. So, but the fact is, before the fight, he just watched his little brother get knocked out.
Yeah, and it's funny because we talked about that before. And remember, Rashad actually mentioned
he at least admitted,
and I'm assuming he's alluding to
Overeem and Bigfoot.
And because he lost to Nogueira on that same card right after that, and he was teammates with Overeem. Watched Overeem get knocked out, and he didn't say specifically that's the fight, but it had to be what he was talking about. It's the one that came to my mind immediately.
Instantly,
saying that watching your teammate lose can affect you mentally. And it had to have affected him. Watching his little brother get knocked out earlier.
I think it added more pressure to him.
Yeah, probably did. He might have fought with emotionally, and maybe that's why he doesn't. That can be good or bad for certain people.
I think potentially that. I wouldn't say that's the reason he lost, but that would also.
It could explain why he fought weird.
It would explain why he didn't show up.
Yeah.
Somewhat. Other than the fact that right at the beginning he got hit and RDA just stayed in his face, I would say that that would be something I would take in consideration.
Well, it's just like trying to understand exactly why it was so one-sided. Not just, obviously, if they fought again right now, I think RDA destroys him again. I don't think that necessarily swings the way the fight goes. Pettis definitely has some work to do with his grappling and just dealing with someone getting in his face.
Well, he's got to work on his wrestling more.
Yeah.
He worked on his jiu-jitsu, but he needs to work on his wrestling more. And also, him fighting against the cage, he didn't have, I think I mentioned that in the prediction, the fact that I didn't think he was going to knock RDA out because RDA was going to be in his face and he wouldn't have the range to really use his kicks.
Picked the submission, right?
Yeah, because I didn't think he would. Yeah. If RDA's in his face, he's not going to be able to do the kicks. He's not going to have the distance to hit him. So that's definitely something he needs to work on to fight maybe in the clinch.
I'll be honest. I thought Pettis was going to just tear him up standing like he did to everyone else, but I was just completely off.
And I wonder if some of that is the other people that fought him kind of watched him. It's almost like
Maybe.
Anderson.
Yeah, it goes the same.
With the whole thing with the Sonnen, like Sonnen just got in his face and did not.
Yeah.
Wasn't afraid of him.
Basically, didn't give him any respect.
Yeah.
And it worked.
Well, we could even go back to when Rashad and Rampage fought. Right at the beginning, Rashad
he
punched
ran up
him.
and punched Rampage, and it threw him for a loop.
Yeah, threw him for a loop, so he gained his respect. And I think that's kind of what happened. Right at the beginning, RDA punched him in the face hard, and he wasn't used to that. And then after that, he was kind of in survival mode. He wasn't being very offensive. He was just surviving.
Yeah. And, I mean, he did. He survived. And that's all he did, though.
What's weird though, I actually read some comments and people were saying that he didn't show any heart. I'm like, he showed he was tough. Like he could have gave up.
Yeah, he didn't quit.
He didn't quit. He just got the RDA was the better man that night.
Some nights you just get beat. No one is undefeated in the sport. No one stays undefeated, I should say. Obviously, there's some fighters that are still undefeated, but no one has stayed undefeated, and there's a reason.
Well, even then, you can have a bad.
Yeah, everyone loses to somebody at some point. It doesn't necessarily mean they don't have heart or something.
Well, now what
bullshit.
I'm interested in is Khabib and Cowboy. This is a contender fight.
Yeah,
and both would be rematches. RDA beat Cowboy, Khabib beat RDA.
Khabib is pretty much, I think, generally viewed as the uncrowned king right now because he's got the win over the champ. And until Khabib loses, he's kind of unofficially seen as the best, I guess. And I think there's some merit in that. I think RDA has improved since that fight, especially his striking. But is that going to matter if Khabib takes him down?
This is true.
Cowboy has a pretty good shot against Khabib, I think, especially while it's standing. But I don't think that Cowboy can stuff his takedowns.
Cowboy has good jiu-jitsu, but is that going to trump, a lifetime of wrestling?
Right, and usually it doesn't.
No.
Was it from what we've seen?
Yeah.
If a wrestler knows jiu-jitsu too, if he knows how to defend submissions, he usually can win the fight.
He can just stay in the dominant position and avoid this.
At least with this rule set, I should say. If the rules were slightly different, it might be different. But
this is true.
Yeah, I guess that about wraps us up.
All right, so that's what we thought about the event. What did you think about it? Do you agree? Disagree? Let us know, and don't forget to subscribe.